Okay, let me just request. And if you want to join the conversation, then do request the mic and we can have it's working fine. That would be awesome. So 1 second. Audio is good, brilliant. Okay. Okay, cool. I don't know what this guy's saying. I think this is spelled wrong, but I can't see it. It looks right to me. Okay, guys, on the X Space, let's go to Andy. Andy, hope you are doing well. Give us your thoughts.
Yeah, so this whole thing with Vance calling out Israel for being ungrateful for American support, while you have all of these Israeli influencers pumping Rubio, this seems like it's such an obvious psyop to make it look like, oh, Rubio's the pro-Israel guy, well, Vance is the based America first guy, and Vance doesn't really support Israel, but we all know Vance really supports Israel. I mean, he's backed by Peter Thiel and Palantir. So this is a psyop meant to trick normies by making it look like there's a schism with Vance turning on Israel, and they're going to throw Rubio under the bus and be like, well, Rubio's the Adelson puppet, and Rubio's the Israel's guy. Look at all of these Israelis attacking Trump and Vance while supporting Rubio. Rubio's the problem. I mean, just remember when Tucker said that it's Rubio and the neocons trying to sabotage JD Vance. And it's like, no, it's not just Rubio and the neocons. Vance works for Peter Thiel. Like, no, we don't want Palantir. And like, Vance is not, and like, Vance might not be as pro Israel as Rubio, but he's not going to cut off aid to Israel. He's not going to, like, anyone that is not running on a platform of cutting aid to Israel is not getting our votes. It's that simple. And Vance is not going to just criticize Israel one time for being too genocidal, because that's all they're really mad about. They're not mad about any of the deaths in Gaza. They're not mad at any of that. They're only mad that they finally went, I guess, too far for them. So this is such an obvious psyop. And I hope, and people, and that's why we need to keep calling that out. And it's good that all of us on this panel and in this space who have been paying attention during this entire war can see this. I mean, Vance has always been their guy. I mean, Peter Thiel doesn't throw $15 million into a nobody in a Senate race and then he becomes VP when you don't have a greater plan in mind. I mean, Peter Thiel could have picked anyone for that, and he chose JD Vance for a reason. They have grand plans for him.
Prashant, jump in with your thoughts.
Yeah, that was an excellent analysis, Andy, because there's more dark connections to J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance was a Trump hater for most of his career. And now all of a sudden, because he got millions of dollars from one billionaire, and that billionaire also gave millions, tens of millions to Palantir, J.D. Vance is lying through his teeth. He's evil. He's as much a part of the problem as Trump. And as far as Trump, somebody said in one of the interviews, or somebody said in the space, crimes should not be forgotten. 100% crimes should not be forgotten. If this is a moral world, as is our space will be soon, Trump should be in prison for the rest of his life. Let's not forget who moved the embassy to Jerusalem. That was Trump. Trump has been evil on this issue from day one. My memory is Hamas said that there were three reasons they did September 7th. One is to release all the Palestinian prisoners being tortured and imprisoned in Israeli jails illegally. Two, because Trump moved the embassy to Jerusalem, lighting a fire that caused how many tens of thousands of deaths. Trump did that. The third thing that Trump did, the Abraham Accords. The Abraham Accords was nothing for Palestine, everything for the rich folks and Israel. So Trump is evil. Trump has caused thousands and tens of thousands of deaths. If this is a moral world, like this space will be named soon, Trump should be in prison for the rest of his life. And J.D. Vance, he's no different. I wrote down a few more notes about somebody was talking about, maybe it was Paul Roberts. He was talking about strategic blunders. I think that the U.S. and Israel have done at least 10 times more strategic blunders than Iran, at least 10 times. So I don't understand him talking about strategic blunder by Iran. They may have made one small or two small ones, but the U.S. made way more, at least 10 times more strategic blunders in this whole war crime. That's the other thing I object to. People calling it a war. It's not a war. It's a war crime. It's a Trump war crime. It's a U.S. war crime. Let's stop calling it a war. That plays into their evil game. And as far as the last thing, I wrote more notes, but I'll only comment on one more thing. Mostaba not agreeing with the agreement. Once more, this proves my point that Iran is the adult on the block here, that Iran is the moral actor in this whole situation, not the U.S. Not the U.S. government, and not the Israeli government. Iran is the adult. He was an adult. He said, I don't agree with some provisions, but I'll accept what you said after having talked to you. And I agree, and I understand, as you pointed out, Suleiman, and good job pointing it out. They killed how many people of his family? And yet he's still going to, although he doesn't agree with it, he's still going to act like the adult to stop the killing and go along with the agreement. That's an adult. I consider him as an adult as his father, who they murdered. I consider him a moral man, unlike the U.S. government officials, Vance, Trump, Rubio, Hegseth, all immoral people. Most of them are responsible for thousands of deaths. So once again, I support this gentleman, Mojtaba, because as you pointed out, in spite of all the deaths in his family, in spite of him not agreeing with some part of the agreement, he says he'll go along with it. And I agree with him in the sense that the only way I see the world out of this mess is to put an end to Israel. Period. End of story. Thanks for letting me talk.
So
Great points. Just to add to what you're saying, that look, that point, because it is, I kept on hearing people saying hardliner, and even people who are against the war were like, oh my God, this guy's even more of a hardliner. And it's like, what are you talking about? What do you mean by hardliner? And then when you ask, they can never explain it because it's just verbiage and language that they continue to use. What is a hardliner? And so, if you remember, there was that fake claim. If you remember, there was a report during the war which made it look like that there was some Iranian who was trying to kill Ivanka Trump. Do you remember that report? And just over that, everyone was like, oh my God, they tried to go after his daughter, which was a fake report, but he should massacre everyone. He should destroy Iran. So that was just on a fake claim that something may or may not happen. If someone, as I mentioned, had murdered Donald Jr. or Ivanka Trump or any of these people, thanks to Qasem with a level 1 membership. Thank you for joining our membership. Really appreciate it. They would have, he would have mass murdered everyone. Millions would have died if something like that happened. And you look at Mujtaba, and as you said, he's been acting very moralistic. You look at it, and he's making deals. And I thought this guy was a dictator or something. How is it he's ceding to the decision making of the president on something so huge, which once again demonstrates that all of these lies they've been saying is false. And even these people who said they're going to betray Lebanon, they're going to leave Lebanon to basically, defend for itself. Well, you've seen it once again. I put it out there. I said, look, Iran needs to make a move before Friday. I said that they're going to fall into a trap if they didn't. And they didn't fall into the trap because they've responded and they've done it. And so they're playing a blinder in this scenario. The only bit that, so they're playing a blinder in this scenario. So they've done great. And you know my opinion on the 300 billion. As long as it's not corporate interest going into Iran, because I think you lose your country. As long as it's reparations, that's good. But if it's like corporate interest, that's a concern for me because I think corporations destroy countries. But yeah, so great points on that, Prashant. I agree with everything you said. And again, I just like the word regime and hardliner. These are all manipulative words in order to demonize. Like, how is he a hardliner? If he was a hardliner, you'd be knowing about it. There would be no gold states left. But yeah, let's Wolf, you were gonna jump in on something. Go ahead.
Hey, what's going on, Suleiman? Good afternoon. Just had a few notes here, man. Yo, this victory, I had to sit back and think. This victory is a 10-year project of them knowing and understanding how Americans work, the American politicians work, right? So we take it back 10 years when Obama signed the JCPOA, right? Usually presidents don't usually step on other presidents' toes, especially when it comes to treaties. They usually honor it. But they kind of understood that Trump was gonna, in their arrogance and their hubris, back out of that deal. And they basically essentially walked us down 10 years from the past to now until victory. Like, what some people are worried about, oh, well, they shouldn't have signed a deal, or, you know, what's going to happen is Trump is going to keep kicking the ball down the road and it's going to keep the straits open. Well, what they're going to do is they're going to just say, okay, if you want us to keep the strait open, you're going to have to pay us. You're going to have to pay us every time you want to kick this ball down the road. You're going to have to pay us $10 billion because that's how much we're going to collect in fees. So you're going to have to pay us that money to keep that straight up. They essentially now they have from Trump moving forward, they have every president in a vice grip. If if Israel is over there acting up, they're gonna get on the phone and be like, yo, you gotta get these dudes in check, or we're gonna close down the strait. People are surprised. Oh, how did Trump backtrack? What happened? Trump woke up one day. He was talking all that tough stuff. He woke up one day and somebody walked in his office and said, "Sir, you're 4 weeks away from being Herbert Hoover." And that scared him shitless. I don't care what nobody says, left, right, Democrat, Republican, nobody wants to be Herbert Hoover. And that's when he realized, oh crap, we lost. It's over. It doesn't matter. People are like, oh, this MOU is not gonna stand. It's gonna stand because nobody wants to be Herbert Hoover. And that's the simple logic of it. It's over.
Yeah, great point. Let's go to Andy. Andy, you jump in. Would you want to add something?
Yeah, exactly. Like you could say that the new Khomeini, he's more hardline than his father, but he's not some crazy extremist that people are
No, but
making him
what
out to
what do you
be.
mean by hardliner? Can you explain?
I mean, I'd say maybe he's like I'd say if they didn't take out, for example, the supreme leader, I'd say Iran would have probably gone to the negotiating table
No,
sooner,
but
for
you said he's
example.
more of a hardliner than his father. I'm trying to understand what is a hardliner. What makes both of them hardliners?
I mean, just I mean, his father is not a hardliner at all. I'd say he's more hardliner, but he's still a moderate
How
in
is he?
terms of
But
he's
I'm
still a
asking you, how
moderate.
is he? You keep saying he's more of a hardliner. I'm asking you, how is he? How is he a hardliner?
I mean, I I'd say more hardliner, but he's still not a hardliner.
No,
I'd
no,
say
you keep
he's
repeating he's more of a hardliner. I'm asking you, what do you mean by he's a hardliner? Like it's like me saying Andy's more gay, and then I ask you, what do you mean by gay? And it's like, okay, a guy liking other guys. So you keep saying he's more of a hardliner.
I
I'm
just
asking
mean
you,
he
what do
was.
you mean by
I'd say he
hardliner?
was less willing to negotiate. Like he would have, like for example, the last Khomeini, like before the war, was willing to accept a very favorable deal to the U.S.
So
And then,
hardliner for you is someone who doesn't want to accept a weaker deal.
I mean, I didn't say. I said he's less mod. Okay,
No, no,
I'll
but
rephrase
listen,
that.
Andy, the reason I'm asking this question is because what words have meanings, and words
I agree with you. I made a mistake with
we
my
need to be able
phrasing.
to define words and then apply those definitions on people and things. So I'm asking you, when you say hardliner, what's your definition of a hardliner? Because once you give me the definition, then I can say, okay, does it apply to him? And then we'll apply it completely voluminous to the entire world and see everybody who fits into that box. So when you say the word hardliner, what do you mean by it?
Someone who doesn't. Yeah, I'd agree. I made a mistake on that analysis. You're right.
No, it's not your fault. I'm not saying to you. This isn't an attack on you. The reason I'm going through this, and I even pulled up the guy in the interview, is because I've been thinking about this. Like everyone's using that word, and actually, they're just using it because they're hearing other people say it. But in reality, what do people mean by hardliner? So what you could say about the current government is, um, the conservative. But if conservative means hardliner, it means everyone in America, the right wing, America's largely a bit more conservative. That means everybody's a hardliner. It means like what? Like Tucker Carlson's a hardliner, and Donald Trump's a hardliner, and Candace Owens a hardliner, and far right like Nick Fuentes. So they're all hardliners. So like everyone who's a conservative is a hardliner, and anyone who's not liberal is like this is what I mean. So I want this
Yeah,
is what I'm trying to say.
that's a
Like,
fair point. I'd consider more Saudi Arabia and their government like hardliners, I guess. I think that might be
but
more of a.
even then, I'm asking like, what does it mean by so hardliner for you means conservative?
I mean, not necessarily. Yeah, I guess that's a fair. Yeah, I guess hardliner is kind of a term that no one's really defined. It's just been tossed around too much.
Exactly. It's like the word regime. So when people use the word regime, it's in order to say government, but really what they actually mean is they when apply the word regime, they're applying it to a government that they basically do not agree with. Because what is a regime? A regime is a government. You have an administration and whatever it may be. But when they use regime in this sense, in the colloquial sense, they try and basically make it look like it's some kind of totalitarian, authoritarian government. And so this is what I mean, like where words are used intentionally by those in power in order to already manufacture some kind of consent about the conversation. And so I kept on hearing people saying, "Oh, guess what? He's more of a hardliner than his father." There's no evidence that he's even more of a hardliner than his father. Or if you would say, let's not even use the word hardliner and say he was more aggressive than his father. How is he? Like if he was, he would have murked everyone. They all tried to kill his whole. They killed his whole family. Um.
Yeah,
So
I agree. I'd say more aggressive is a really good term to use. I like that. That's a great phrasing, Solomon.
yeah, but I don't even think he's more aggressive because if he's more aggressive, I mean, he's in a total different circumstance to his father because his father also was against the JCPOA. I remember he even made the same statement at the time. He said, "I'm going to let the president go ahead with it, but I don't agree with it." And he's made the exact same statement this time. So even in that scenario, they're not different. And also, his father didn't have his father and his whole, his wife and everyone be murdered on the first day. And even then, he's come to the table and agreed and been willing to negotiate with the Americans, and they've been doing so for 2 months. So, I mean, if there's anybody who's more aggressive, it's definitely the Americans and the Israelis compared to Iran. But do continue. I was only
Yeah,
having
yes.
that conversation for the
The
audience.
Israelis are definitely hardliners because they don't care if the global economy crashes at all. Like they literally are like, we don't care if the entire West, the entire global South crashes as long as we can keep the Americans killing Iranians. Like that's true hardliners. The Israelis like just look. They literally are freaking out because there isn't a war. Like they literally only want war. It's actually insane. Like Israel could literally control half the world and they'd be upset that they don't have the other half.
Yeah, yeah. Let's go to Zina. Zina, thanks for joining us. Hope you're doing well. Give us your thoughts.
Thank you. And thank you for taking the effort to correct the language and vocabulary or just make people think about how they're framing things because it is important. Um, I think, out of all of this, I hope that Iran and the Iranian people get everything that they're due. And, this is a win, at least getting these concessions on paper. But at the same time, you commented yesterday on my repost of your space where I said it's not over yet. And I didn't mean to disparage, everybody celebrating at least the symbolic concession on paper, but the reality is that Israel's still bombing Lebanon. There, when it comes to agreements with the U.S., there's not been a good track record of those being upheld. Just, even if you want to go back to the JCPOA, Iran got a fraction of what it was promised in those terms. They didn't get the full fulfillment of the um, sanctions relief and financial relief that they were due, and until it's actually in hand, they don't have it yet. And I'm kind of wondering, on as far as this is concerned, is earlier spaces a few weeks ago, there were all these projections of whether or not there was going to delay because of the World Cup and because of the 250th celebration, and the midterms, and what that kind of calendar might look like in the progression of any kind of kinetic activity. I'm wondering if this is actually the stall out for that same timeline, like a brief kind of respite to rebalance the economy a little bit, rebalance the oil reserves a little bit, get through the push towards the midterms a little bit, um, get through some other objectives, maybe a detour into Cuba, regroup, re-up, and come back to it. I just am very skeptical of what this all means. Symbolically, it is a great win, and I do hope that Iran gets everything it's due. But there's, I think, a fair reason to be very skeptical about ulterior motives and what is behind this. And I'm not buying into the open criticism of Netanyahu and the Knesset. I mean, I think some of it's just emotional, reflex, but this has been referred to before. I think it was under the Biden campaign that Channel 12, the Israeli state media, was talking about how these kind of disagreements between them were really more political theater for their respective bases, when they really weren't consequential. And I'm kind of looking at everything with really, really skeptical eyes, and I was just wondering what your thoughts were.
Yeah, I think you're making some great points. And also, let me just read this statement from Galibaf, and then I do want to have this conversation with you. So Galibaf came out with a statement, and he said this is after the Supreme Leader made a statement. He said, "We are at your command. The task assigned to us by the Supreme Leader is to pursue the realization of the conditions and clauses of the agreement. In the event of bad faith, breach of contract, and excessive demands by the opposing side, we have no hesitation in delivering a crushing response to the enemy. They were once slapped during the war. If they wish to tread that path again, they will receive an even harder slap." Zina, first of all, I agree with you. You know my position on this. That I do think that they're going to come back. I think this is just a gap in order to get over the World Cup and the summer period, and possibly even the midterms, and then they may be back again. In terms of the deal itself, in terms of Lebanon, I basically went through this because I was saying that, look, Lebanon is being hit, but there's it's not the same as it was before. And what I mean by that is this. So Lebanon from 2024 to 2026 was essentially bombed almost every single day. And they never ever stopped. But what happened was, when they started this war against Iran, then what happened was, obviously the resistance in Lebanon jumped in and to help. And since then, Israel has been bombing and carpet bombing Lebanon considerably and excessively. So that carpet bombing and that destruction that they were causing at this mass level has stopped since the deal. What they've essentially gone back to is what they were doing before the war, before 2026. And they're still in the ground in Lebanon. And in the ground in Lebanon, they are being dominated on the ground. I was looking at the figures and doing a bit of research on this. And since the start of this ceasefire, there's been about 80 to 100 Israeli casualties. And in terms of resistance, it's negligible. Some I was checking, and some claim there may have been one or two, and others say zero. So let's say 0 to 2, and the other one is 80 to 100. So since this ceasefire has happened, they've been absolutely getting decimated. And when they bomb from the air, there is some civilian casualties for sure, but there is only a small number. Obviously, we want zero. So I guess the point is how to look at this, because now when they're bombing from the air, it's very limited strikes. So there's two ways of looking at this. One way is, which Iran's gone ahead and with, is that we want zero strikes on Lebanon. We want you to retreat, right? Or the other way is for those people who do want the Israeli army to get bashed, then essentially under this current scenario, you've basically left it where it's ground on ground and they're getting dominated and decimated, and the army is receiving huge casualties. Casualties Iran could never ever do from Iran, because when Iran fires a ballistic missile or a hypersonic missile, they're targeting military bases and military areas. And so those are well protected. So you end up hitting the bases and areas, but you don't hit their soldiers. The only people who can cause harm to the actual army is on the ground by the resistance. So those are two different modes, and I understand some people would prefer the first perspective and some would prefer the second perspective. But in both scenarios, I don't see Israel actually winning, if that makes sense, or really benefiting from this more than the resistance.
I see your point in terms of the number of casualties and human loss of human life, and it's a valid point. I don't think it diminishes the pursuit of land expansion um, and the forward movement. And I'm putting that into context. I know I keep bringing up the West Bank, and I'm not trying to derail the space from the current conversation, but I think
No,
it's
no, go
all
ahead, make your point. Don't
it, it
stress. Go ahead.
it's all related. In Jenin, which is in area A of the West Bank, which is of the three zones, A, B, C, A is the most, quote unquote, autonomous. They are currently building a military base on top of the refugee camps in Jenin. They've actually already force evacuated and demolished over 60% of it. And it I think it sets up, if you're looking at that going on, the rapid and violent expansion of the settler attacks now that are happening in the West Bank aren't an isolated settler group that's coming to a particular village. They're happening in clusters. So they're coming in these coordinated groups. So this mass expansion, the attempted annexation of the West Bank, at the same time as last I checked the news this morning, yes, the Israeli forces were getting dominated, as you say, and getting it handed to them on the ground in Lebanon, but they were also relocating and moving in a forward direction deeper into Lebanon, from what I understand. So I don't know what's changed in the last few hours since I've been online, but I do see it as part of, like, they may be taking their losses, but that momentum and that forward motion is still in pursuit. And I don't think that's stopping. And this is one thing where, yeah, I keep making the
So,
same comment.
so just on the West Bank. So, the problem is with the West Bank, it's going to be very difficult for a country like Iran, in terms of location, to do anything about the West Bank. You would need basically other nations to get involved to try and get it done. And what I mean by that is the West Bank, as you know, is controlled by the Palestinian Authority. the Palestinian Authority are, in my view, I know some people disagree, but in bed with Israel. And you basically have it with the PA, because they do have many representatives on social media who vehemently hate Iran, or at a minimum disagree with them. And they basically, to the point where many of them are even against the resistance in Gaza. I know this because when we were speaking about the Gaza genocide, they would vehemently, for example, attack me because I was disagreed with their position about resistance. And so why I say that is to bring all of this together is that you've got a complexity again with West Bank, more so than Gaza, but still with Gaza as well, where they essentially have a leadership structure that's controlled by Israel, a leadership structure that is very anti-Iran, people who are part of their government who is anti-Iran. And if Iran was to try and do anything in their regard, which I just don't think they've got the ability to do so, you would have it where they themselves would reject Iran themselves. And so how it's like me saying, "Oh, I'm gonna negotiate for Zina," and Zina's like, "Shut up, blood! Like I don't want you to negotiate for me." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, but I want you to, I want to negotiate for her. Like I want you to stop attacking her." And you're like, "Nah, son, like shut up. I don't want you to speak for me. Like you don't represent me." So that's kind of like, I know I'm standing a bit street, but I'm trying to make the street example of like what's happening with the West Bank and Iran. So I just think that with the West Bank, there's no scenario where Iran could do anything for them. They would need someone with whom they themselves have some kind of alliance, which unfortunately is the nations that are selling them out.
I understand your point about the West Bank, because we've talked about this before, and I sadly have to agree with you on this one. But my point in bringing up the West Bank was to just reflect on the fact that the military aggression is expanding, and the fact that a new base is being built, not just the tragedy of it being built on top of the refugee camp in Jenin, but just the fact that a new one is being built is an indicator for larger aggression, like planned, military aggression and expansionist movement, or the at least the intention for that. And that's where I was trying to tie into Lebanon. But I agree with you on that point. I'm just a little bit disheartened, but like I said, I hope for Iran that they get everything that they are due. I just highly skeptical where this is going, and how long this is going to hold, and what the intentions were from the US's side in giving all of these concessions to Iran, whether it's anything that's actually actionable, or whether this is just a ruse or a stalling tactic to buy time for something down the road.
Yeah, I think it's highly probable that that's the aim, is to um, basically get themselves in a better situation so they can do something later. I just don't see a scenario where this is the end. Like, I know even in a scenario, even in this hypothetical that people are proposing, where there is this kind of separation between Israel and US, which I don't believe it is. I think this is fake what they're doing. I think that I explained this in in the interviews, but I think what's happening is Israel is being dominated on the ground. Netanyahu does need to retreat, and because he needs to retreat, this is kind of like a face-saving mechanism that they're both working on together. Because if there really was a separation, that Section 224 wouldn't go through. But yeah, I do think something's gonna come. I don't think this is the end of it. This makes no sense to me. Like the Zionist, if you see things as just purely, oh, guess what? Like Israel's only been there since 48, and therefore we need to look at their actions, and it's this and that. And let's just look at one element. Then you could come to that conclusion. But once you understand ideology, geopolitics, religion, history, psychology, sociology, and philosophy, and you put all of those elements together, and you understand with the perspective of these Zionists, it's not going to end. They may have to, in the worst case scenario for them, retreat for a bit, with the idea that they need to come back bigger and stronger and better than ever, as per what they've done many a times in a history. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. But yeah, I don't think it's over as well, Zenan. Great points. Let's go to that girl. That girl, thanks for joining us. Hope you're doing well. Give us your thoughts.
Yeah, thank you for opening up the space. Suleiman, Beatrix, Andy, Jubins, Prashant, everybody on here, what's up? Hope everybody's having a good day. Retweet the space, guys. I just finished watching your interview. I think I caught like the last, maybe 15 minutes of your interview with the gentleman. I forgot his name, I'm sorry. But I'm sorry, I do want to kind of go back to this hardliner thing because when he said it, I was talking to myself like, I wonder if Suleiman's going to say something about that. Like,
no, but
this whole
just on that, because I just want to clarify, it wasn't him. I just want to clarify because now I feel like it's going to be a pile up on him. And I'm not saying you're doing that, but just for the audience, everybody uses that word. And actually, to be honest, I had it in my head that the next time someone uses it, I'm going to call them out on it. And so that's basically what happened. So it was more that everybody uses it. And I was going to be like, look, I'm going to start questioning people because they keep using that word and saying he's more hardliner than his father. And I was going to be like, okay, so what do you mean by that? And all that kind of stuff. So that was always my plan to the next person to use it. I was gonna kind of pull him up on it. So it wasn't him specific to him because they all use it. And I think he was a bit shook because he couldn't explain it because I think no one's ever asked him the question because we are who we are. This is people not ready for us, blood. We dissect and disseminate all of the points that they're not ready for us, blood. You know what I'm saying? They ain't ready. Go ahead, Casey, jump in though.
Yeah, no, for sure. We're definitely not going to pile up on it because, I like this. I like the interview. I like the whole conversation. I'm just glad you said that, period, because even when I hear when other people say it, I'm like, what is hardliner? Like, yo, these people have showed mad restraint, but I think it's more of a cultural thing than Islamists and all. I'm like, here we go. But like, it's a cultural thing. Like, it's like I was waiting. I'm sorry, and I'm not piling on him, but I was waiting for the whole women's rights issue. It's funny because conservatives will bring that up. Now I'm speaking in general, women's rights, gay rights. It's like, well, I don't understand. I thought that you didn't want women to vote here, but then you want them to do things. It's just funny how that works out and how they say that. But Iran has shown restraint. Russia's shown restraint. These kind of people they tell you to fear all day for 40 years of your life. You've been hearing that these are the bad guys, and then you wake up and it's like totally not true. So the other thing to JD, see, the problem with American PR is like they take it too far. It was fun yesterday. Trump dropped off a couple, little quick one-liners. Hey, listen, other countries have ballistic missiles, so Iran can have one too. And I was like, okay, a little bit of common sense. Then JD Vance goes on and makes this big show and absolutely destroys it. For me, it is a big show. I will say for sure here in America, I hope nobody's falling for those 1, 2, 3 words, that all of a sudden that we're going to decouple from what this thing is. When people say Israel, it's not just the place Israel, it's the whole thing that surrounds it. You just don't decouple that easy, like with some words. We need to get rid of the bills. Stop it. This isn't the first time people have gotten mad and had back and forth, said things. Netanyahu and Trump actually had an argument before in his first term where Trump said that he was willing to listen to the Palestinian side. And then he was angry, said he wanted to hold back the aid. And then they told him he wasn't allowed to. And I don't know who told the president of the United States that he wasn't allowed to, but they told him he wasn't allowed to, right? So these words, let us not get caught up. Because we always knew that they were going to try to make it seem like we have this, America first thing that's going to happen. It's not happening. And certainly when they put up JD Vance to do all of that hooting and hollering that he was doing, I was like, oh, forget it. It just looks absolutely fake to me. I don't trust a lot of what's going on. I don't. But, this dynamic is like, one to really sit back and really look at what's happening. But I certainly don't trust anything to do with Israel. And like you said, Suleiman, they probably are gonna just retreat for just a little bit, not even retreat, but just chill for a little bit or less bombing, which is still sick. Anyway, and to, get their weapons back up and get their arsenal back up to go even harder. They're gonna probably milk this. So right after the midterms, And then I think that's when we're going to see the true face of everything. I think that the fall, closer to the winter, we'll see the true face of what's really going on around here. So, but I like the fact that we're here trying to figure it out and dissect it together on this channel, on the space and on your channel. So yeah, thank you.
Awesome. True Maga, jump in.
Hey, thank you. Did you get the latest? The Iran has suspended the entire 60-day negotiation period with the U.S. over the direct violation of the MOU first clause, according to reports from Iran's news. I don't know if you heard that, but I was saying this morning that
you're so funny, True Maga. What happens is, right, we basically break the news like maybe 5 hours earlier, and then we talk about it for 5 hours, and then you're like, guess what, guys? And we're like, what? You're like, guess what? Breaking news. And we're like, what's the breaking news?
Okay.
Oh, they've suspended all negotiations. We're like, yeah, but we've literally been talking about it for 4 hours, and we're talking about it right now. Yeah, no, but they suspended it, bruv. That's so funny. But go continue.
Yeah. So something I just want a true answer from. Maybe I'm not like some lady that was born in Iran, I guess, and she speaks perfect English, so I had to believe her. But she said that like basically 80% of the people over there, like I never hear you guys talk about that part of it, like especially Prashant, like what about those other people? What is the opposing view? I heard like 20%. I said, well, my question was, why can't Iran have a nuke? I mean, everybody should be able to have a nuke for deterrence, right? Well, their answers was like, they're going to blow up the whole world if they get a nuke, right? I go, I don't think they're dumb people. They don't want to blow up the whole world, right? But so if you were going to
blow up the whole world with a nuke, they've right now got missiles. Why didn't they just destroy the Gulf state and make sure it doesn't exist anymore and murder everyone in it? And why didn't they do the same thing to Israel?
Yeah, and then their answer was like, well, well, I said, why don't the people are really smart people? They don't want to like kill everybody. They invented chess and all that stuff, and they're just normal people. I mean, I've seen like pictures of it a long time ago. So, but 20% oppose, I guess, are radicalized and they can never change. So the thing is, the IRGC, I guess, is the part that I guess they're making sure the other 80% don't get hurt. Or am I saying anything right?
Why is the IRGC radicalized? What's radical about them? Please do let me know.
I guess because they, I mean, have these. This is just what I'm thinking, right? I could be wrong, like I say, but because they fund these proxies around Israel that, and I can see Israel wants to expand, and
they're radical because they fund resistance groups around Israel to help defend different places from Israel. So, for example, they fund Hamas, which is a resistance group in Gaza, and what makes them radical is they help fund them because they're able to defend their land against Israel, and that makes it radical for you, does it?
I mean, that's what we're hearing. That's what the American people are definitely believing, right?
I'm not asking about the American people. I'm asking your position. So I'm asking about your perspective. I don't care about, like, for example, each American is different. We've got Americans on here who just vehemently disagree with everything you're saying. But my point is, when you say they're radical because they fund proxy groups, okay, let's ignore the fact that those proxy groups are funded in order to defend their land, as in not Iran, but as actually Palestine and Lebanon. But if funding groups is considered makes you radical, then that means United States of America is radical because they've been funding many groups throughout the world, and many of those groups have committed mass murder aggressively, progressively, more than anyone else. I mean, you do know one radical group called ISIS that was financed and funded by the United States of America is just one example. But I can go to almost every country and give you how the US funded some proxy group in that country in order to cause mass deaths. And I'm not even talking about mass death because that wasn't even your argument. Your argument is just funding proxy. So do you think the US government is now and has always been radical?
Do you think that we have always been radical? Is your question?
Yeah, based on your definition. Your definition was. Yeah, go ahead.
I think we're pretty radical. I don't like foreign wars, but as far as like if we were funding.
So you agree? No, I didn't say foreign wars. That wasn't your argument. Your argument was this: Your argument was if you fund proxy groups, that makes you radical. I then said to you, okay, True MAGA, that means US funds proxy groups. Thus, does that make the US and always has been radical?
Well, I mean, the whole premise of the question wasn't even about that, but I mean, you're asking a whole different thing. But I mean, yeah, you shouldn't fund proxy groups. That does make you radical. You're right.
Okay,
It's
so
like
US,
if we were
okay, so
we were
US is
funding like
radical. So basically, the
Colombia.
United States of America is radical, and it's always been radical, right?
Yeah, I mean, if they're funding proxy groups, if you can, you shouldn't do that. But my question was about Iran, like the
No, it
split,
did,
the other.
because the conversation came here because you said, "Oh, guess what?
Yeah,
20% of Iran is radical." And
what
then I
about
said
the
to you,
other
"Oh,"
80%?
and I said to you, True MAGA, what makes them radical? And then you said because they fund proxy groups. And then I said, wait a sec, US has always funded proxy groups. Does that make the US radical? And then you said, yes, they do. So now you're saying the bad thing about Iran is that it's as radical as the United States of America. Okay, continue. What else?
No, it was about why can't they have a nuke? Remember, that's what I started with. And some people say because the RGC is too radical to have a nuke. This is just what I'm hearing. I'm not saying it's my opinion. I'm kind of asking you. So, but the other 80%, is that true that they don't believe in like the IRGC, but 20% do? Is that true or not? Let's start
Well,
there.
that's
Am I
not
wrong?
true because when you say they don't believe in IRGC, that doesn't make sense. It's like saying, do you know what you're basically saying? Because the IRGC is essentially the military as well. They have a couple of different military wings, but it's one military defense of the country. So does it make sense to you if someone said to you, "Oh, guess what, True MAGA, people in America don't agree with the U.S. Army." It's like, what do you mean by that? That makes no sense. Like, what, there being a U.S. Army, the fact that the U.S. Army, the way it
No,
acts, like none of that
I
makes sense. I
understand what
think
you're
what
saying.
you're trying to say. So let me help you out. I
But
think
there's
what
three
you're
different
trying.
groups, right?
Sorry, go ahead.
There's three different. It's not like us. We're under one president. What I heard over there is like
You're under
there's
one
three different
president. Are you
powers.
joking? Have
Can I
you heard
talk for
of?
just 1 second?
Go on.
You can explain it to me. Just let me try and say what I'm saying. So
Go on.
I heard it's three different power groups, right? Kind of not fighting for power, but they're all like, you got the Ayatollah part, you got the IRGC, I forget what the other one is, but it's three different groups. So if you're going to convince somebody to change a regime, for example, you'd have to convince all three of those groups, opposed to like in America, you just have to convince one group, right?
That's
Am I
not
wrong
even
about that?
true, bro. What you're talking about. So in America, I think you don't even know your own political system in America. So in America, you have Republicans, you have Democrats, you have independents, you have people in Congress, you have people in the Senate. The Congress, the Senate, the legal system, the three different branches of government are able to impede and stop each other. So you literally have that process in the US, and I don't even think that's a problem because I think having divergence, although you don't really have divergence because over all of it, Israel controls it. But hypothetically, if Israel didn't control it, that wouldn't be a problem because you've got all of these different elements that essentially make sure and keep other elements honest. This is normal. Countries have different views. So I think what you were trying to say, and this is what I was going to say, but you kept interrupting me. I think what you were trying to say was that people in Iran, and you don't mean the IRGC, this is what I'm trying to explain to you. What you mean is that there's people in Iran, for example, who believe in a theocracy, which is what the current government of Iran is, such as the supreme leader. And then you have other people in Iran who, for example, believe in reformation. For example, the current president of Iran, which is Pezeshkian. And so you've got a divergence of opinions, ideas, and thoughts in Iran, and you've got a divergence of views, different religions, different ethnicities. Yes, this is true. This is what makes Iran and very similar to the United States of America in the sense of they do have different views, different ideas, different thoughts, different perspectives. I don't see why. I don't even get what you mean. Why do you think that's like different to the US? US has that. The countries that don't have that is probably countries like Saudi Arabia, which is a monarchy where it's only the leader, which is MBS as an example, who is the supreme authority and just makes all the decisions and murders anyone who disagrees with him, as an example. So do you understand how the Iranian system isn't too far different when it comes to the divergence of opinions? It's not the same, obviously, because it's still got huge differences. Like, for example, one's a theocracy, one's not. But do you get my point?
Yeah, I mean, what I was trying to say is maybe like our military answers to our president. does the IRGC answer to the Ayatollah?
Yes, it does.
Okay, that's good. I mean,
The
I thought they did.
Ayatollah was in charge of the IRGC. The Ayatollah, the current Ayatollah, is actually closer to the IRGC in the sense of he actually has their perspectives. He's more from their line and their perspective than anyone else. So the current Galibaf, the negotiator, who also was from the IRGC, the current leader, the supreme leader, actually wanted Galibaf to win the presidency. So he endorsed Galibaf in the presidency. He didn't end up winning, ended up being Pezeshkian, but that's just an example of how it works.
And then he has a fatwa of not using nukes ever, right?
His father has a fatwa of never using a nuke ever, which he never ever did. So it demonstrates his father had a fatwa to never use a nuke and to never build one, and he never ever did.
Okay, so when they say they can never have nukes, that's just gaslighting to keep this tension going, to keep the military complex making as much money as they can. I don't know what the hell.
Yeah, that's true. You're right. I agree with that. But separate to that point, so what if they had a nuke? Like, whose business is it? It's not the US's business. It's not Israel's business. It's nobody's business. Israel has a nuke. So even though they themselves are saying, we don't want a nuke, I'm saying, it's none of your business if they have a nuke. It's none of your business. If there's any country that shouldn't have a nuke, it's a country that's used a nuke. You know which country's used a nuke? Exactly.
America.
Exactly. Only one country's ever used a nuke. Only one country thought it's appropriate and acceptable to use a nuke and mass murder people. Right? It wasn't Iran. Exactly. Now why are you doing a fist up? Do you think it's acceptable to use a nuke now?
No, I like the way you said that. I mean, you know, like a kid that doesn't know how to use something, you take it away. But some people say that I just don't know why they're so opposed to them, like just using it for a deterrence. But why would people want to like nuke somebody right next to them? You'll be nuking yourself anyway. It's like ridiculous.
Exactly. Logically makes no sense. And you know, more than that, why would any human want to nuke any other human as well, anywhere? It just goes against any principles of being a human being. But let's go to Jubin. Oh, we'll take case to jump in, and then we'll go Jubin.
Yeah, just real quick.
We've got Michael. We've got anybody else.
I know.
Everybody's hands as well. Go ahead.
Yeah. Michael pushed our hands up. Julian hand was up. I was just saying real quick, like the nuke thing. I mean, but you know, like that's how like North Korea has one, and that's why there's no roaches that come in their that country is purely homogenous, and then everybody tries to, you know, be so scrutinizing that country. They told us we had to hate this country. I don't know these people over there. Why do I need to hate them? One thing I do know is that it seems to me that they have not been invested with Zionism, because you just can't get up in North Korea, but they're going to try one day. They are. But and then the other thing, it's a shame. Like, I mean, I do appreciate True MAGA for asking you these questions, and then you answered the questions beautifully, because there's going to be people listening, new people coming into your live and everything and hearing it. And it's time to break these like thought processes, the type of stuff that we heard about. Like, still to now, people say the Ayatollah was hurting kids. It's not true. It's a shame. They just have a different system, and they've never attacked us. You know, we've attacked them. So, but I think that people will continue to wake up, and spaces and channels like yours will be aiding that kind of awakening. Thank you. Where did he go? I guess we go to Jubin's next. Is it just me who can't hear anybody?
Yeah, no one's talking.
You want to go, Prashant?
Or Jubin's was he did say Jubin.
I think Michael would like to go. He's Azopak. I think we should hear from Michael. I've already spoken.
Yeah, Prashant, we'd love to hear from Michael, but you can leave the space running to myself and Suleiman, but I appreciate it. Go ahead, Dr. Michael. Good to see you.
Hey, everybody. Good to see you. And I don't know what just happened right there, but I don't care, I guess. The rhetoric coming out of J.D. Vance, I'm finding very curious. At least what it recognizes is that there is a substantial opposition to fighting wars at the behest and behalf of Israel. This was very clear because otherwise, J.D. Vance, if this is indeed drama, theater, he would not go to this extent to try to satisfy the audience. They know that means that we're registering on their agenda very big. That's a seismic shift that we should acknowledge. So that's good news in a way. Whether this signifies anything in terms of Trump's policies, I don't know. It's hard to say. I would think that unless we pull all the troops out of there immediately, unless we cut them off from all military aid, then, and unless we disentangle ourselves and certainly don't get any further entangled vis-a-vis Section 224, aka 219 of the NDAA and 622 of the Intelligence Act, unless we don't let that kind of stuff happen, I think we're still in it. I mean, we will be tripped up somehow and made to re-engage. It has to be a complete divorce or else we're never going to get out of there.
Dr. Michael, I want you to continue and I want to hear everything you've got to say, but just on that point, right? One of the things, I did see a couple of J.D. Vance's statements, and one of the things that crossed my mind is we know how manipulative politics can be and how sometimes people, the masses, are easily led by statements which are not really honorable statements, but they're simply there to masquerade. Do you think it's possible that knowing how unpopular Trump has been, he was brought in to deliver this, and he is now very unpopular, especially after the Iran war? You're right about 224. We broke the news on this very space about 224. Suleiman's done several interviews on it. Do you think they've lined up J.D. Vance to make the right noises so he is successor in chief, and that's the manipulation that's going on here? Because people will fall for these verbal statements. They will start cheering Vance and say, well, look, he's calling out Israel, yay. But actually, if it doesn't materialize, it's nothing. So do you think that's the agenda here?
Well, I think that what's going to happen in terms of Vance, and it's already started, it's already begun. They're attacking him roundly now. He's an anti-Semite, of course. So now J.D. Vance is in their crosshairs, and they say he'll never be president. That's over with. There's no chance of him ever being president now, because he chafed against the wrong people. This is this powerful Zionist oligarchy that controls.
But that makes him more popular, right? When it comes to the election and voting.
Popular, but they'll use all of their propaganda tools, like they did against Thomas Massie, to destroy him. So his political future is over unless we can overthrow the domestic Zionism that we have in this country. We have to first overthrow the control of these Zionists exercise over our political class if we want to ever stop this. So that's where I'm coming from.
If I could just please respond, I know I've been taking over the space. I am so sorry, but we cannot let this go any further. J.D. Vance is a snake in the grass. Please, this is all set up by design. That is the last person. The only thing I trust about him is his mascara. That is it.
I never said.
No. I'm just saying
Vance.
These people will put on a show.
What I'm saying is, if it is theater, they know the extent of the disaffection with Israel. They know how our sentiments are running.
Yes, and that's why they will use it against us to make us feel like this is some W. Like this is. It works perfectly. And then he has his little book he's going around with, So now he's a Catholic. He's I don't like Israel. So it's just all working perfectly to his advantage.
You don't think him and Trump are one? You don't think he's saying exactly what Trump wants him to say? You don't think that? Because I think he is.
I think he's saying exactly what he's being paid to say, to look like the hero. This has always been the thing with J.D. Vance. And let me just end with this. The whole term, as much as we've talked about Trump, The whole term with JD Vance, I can't find him. Where's JD Vance? All the scandals fall on Trump's foot, and JD Vance is always left clean. Even that Signalgate thing that happened made JD Vance look like he was some sort of America First, hardcore hero or whatever. This guy is not. That is not what he is at all. And the opportunities keep arising for him to look a certain way. But please, no, I'm sorry. We need to get rid of, yes, the infiltration, the influence. I understand that. JD Vance is not the guy who's going to do it at all. At all.
No. Nobody said, I never suggested that at all. That's not at all what I was saying. What I was saying is his acknowledgement of our sentiments, of the political will of this country, is a significant event. I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about what it represents as such. It represents the acknowledgement by the political class, by the establishment, by the Zionists who run this country, that we've had enough, that we're utterly fed up and we are not going to take it anymore. That's what it represents.
I understand what you're saying, Dr. Michael. I know you're not pushing for JD Vance. I know, but I'm just saying, like, these people, this is how they use our words against us to make it seem like to be chameleons, to pretend like they're part of us. Like, oh, now the people, we've been screaming and stuff. I mean, they know how we feel. So, and it's not like there's been an action that's taken. I get very weary about people getting ready to use the words that the people have been saying for a long time to appear a certain way. Again, I understand what you're saying, Dr. Michael, for sure. I like the Zionist tears, but I'm sorry, JD Vance just, the minute he did that for me, I was like, okay, they're pushing the narrative now. He was the wrong one for them to put out there.
Isn't it because Israel's violated the freaking peace deal 84 times? And that was before today. Today, they had a drone injure 4 more people. I mean, it's just not stopping. And Trump's trying to do this, but they're sabotaging every freaking thing he does. So he's like, hey, I thought we could change the regime. It's not working. And I'm not going to sit here for 15 years while you guys keep arguing.
No. Schumacher, don't be fooled by this. They've broken a ceasefire 84 times. This is Israel's makeup, and they've done this since their existence. And America has funded this since their existence. This is not news to JD Vance or Trump at all. This is all theater going on between Trump and JD Vance. And I agree with Dr. Michael. I don't know what it's about, but I agree with Casey. I think he's being lined up as successor in chief. I don't know what's going on, to be honest, because I don't know. Has anybody heard him call out 224 yet? Has he called it out?
Not at all. I haven't heard it. He hasn't called. They're not saying things that really matter. And I'll just add one last piece to this. This is what happened last year. JD Vance went to Israel. He didn't go to the wall. He went to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre or something like that. And then everybody's like, oh, look at that. America First. He didn't go to the wall. Guys, they're going to make it appear like we are decoupling. That is not what's happening at all. 224 is going to go through, FISA is going in with the SAVE Act, all of this. All of it.
Also,
So
Casey,
that's
to add to what you're saying, and I agree with what you said, many people frame this as, oh, guess what? They put JD Vance in this position to make him the fall guy. That's not the case. This is stupidity, anyone who's saying that. It's the opposite. No, but it's the opposite. It's actually, if you think about it, if this deal fails, do you think Vance is going to get blamed? No, he's not. If this deal fails, Israel will get blamed, and to an extent, Trump will get blamed. But if this deal goes through, Vance will get all the plaudits. So this is a win-win for him. He actually doesn't lose out from this at all.
At all. Even if it did fail, they're going to say, well, at least he tried. They're going to say this guy's report card in this whole term has been spotless. And I've had my issues with Trump, but everything falls on Trump's foot. JD Vance is nowhere to be found. This is not how it was with with Trump Pence. When people were mad at Trump, they were mad at Pence. Pence was there. JD Vance is never anywhere to be found with this scandal. So he's always been spotless, and I don't like it.
They're positioning Vance to be the good cop. And I remember, Casey, one of the things you said just now was, I remember very early on in Trump's presidency, well before the Iran war, the first 5 or 6 really kind of catastrophic, kind of scandals or whatever that happened. You were like, but where's Vance? He's nowhere to be seen. Why are they saving Vance? So yeah, this he's being lined up to be the the good cop in all of this. And they know that because Trump's not calling him out either, is he? Nobody's calling out Vance
No.
from Trump's cabinet, right?
They never call him out. And that's straight. And we know that Trump is that type of person who says what he's thinking, right? So why wouldn't he be like, you know, every time I look around, it's just me. Everybody's getting mad at me. I have a vice president. He does not say any of this. During COVID, when everybody was getting mad at Trump, they got mad at Pence as well. J.D. Vance, nowhere to be found. You know, one time he was in India and they what did they call him? The godson of the son-in-law of India. So yeah,
So the Zionists are going after him dramatically already. They're attacking him intensely. We're getting you know, the Mark Levins of the world and company. They are really trying to destroy J.D. Vance. So it's an interesting position they put him in. I don't know whether he's fall guy or if he's a hero. It's hard to say, but in any case, I really don't care about his political fate so much as I do about what it means and in terms of what we could possibly achieve in this country. Whether I know, you know, I'm too cynical to believe he believed anything he said, but the fact that he felt compelled to say it is very, very, very telling.
But you know what, Dr. Michael, when you say the Zionists are going after him hard, Mark Levin and those guys, and you don't know if he's fall guy or, you know, I don't think, I think that I wouldn't put it past the Zionists. I think they're all part of this whole setup. You know, there is no way, like the Zionists went after, I know you kind of have a lot of regard for Massey, so they went after Massey. They've gone after Dan Bilzerian, who I have a lot of regard for. And now they've gone after J.D. Vance. There is no way the three of them are on any equal level. J.D. Vance has literally been complicit in silence for Israel up until now. And the fact that Zionists are going after him makes him the popular one with the MAGA people who've woken up against Israel. And that's what this is. It's all pantomime. This is what I think. And when the Zionists go after them, it makes him more popular with MAGA, you know, who think, well, this is our guy. Look, he's speaking out against Israel. Yeah, we got a guy who's speaking out against Israel. And I think it's theater. If he's not speaking against the merger between the militaries and things like that, that's if you're going to really stand out, then that's the first thing that you should speak about. And he's not speaking about that.
Yeah, he's not going to go into any such detail. And I think you're 100% right. This is not like he is not being. I don't think he's being set up to be the fall guy. They are trying to lionize him. And to the disaffected MAGA crowd, I think that's right. They're trying to unite them back, or at least get a good segment of them back in time for the midterms.
And you have to remember, J.D. Vance is a Palantir guy. J.D. Vance is got a good relationship with a lot of these people like Tucker Carlson and various others. I think they're all going to be pushing him. So I just think that a lot of these people are ready to dupe everybody. Remember, most of these people came on board. I mean, I'm happy they're all on board about the whole Israel thing, but I mean, they're like 1 year into this. And so when people switch so late, I'm not saying that it's definitely, because it could be it takes people time as well to figure it out. But it could also be part of a psyop. So I am actually, my prediction is that I do think Tucker Carlson, if he doesn't go himself, if he doesn't run himself, all these guys are going to be pushing J.D. Vance hard.
Absolutely, they are. They're going to push him hard. Yeah.
This is their boy. He's going to be in the White House. It's terrible.
If I could just add one more thing. The first thing J.D. Vance said out of his mouth, when he got the vice president nomination, first thing, we need to go after Iran. My God, everything that was going on in the country around that time, we were under Biden, everybody was upset, everything else. He wanted to go to war with Iran. This guy has been well manicured to be in this position ever since from years ago. Okay, so he's ready to take whatever they give him and push it. And he's believable. He has credibility. He is believable to people, but this is it's quite dangerous. A J.D. Vance presidency is not a good look at all for America.
He's like the poster boy for the Palantir Panopticon.
Yeah, exactly. Let's not forget that, Dr. Michael. He's Palantir's boy. He's their supporter. And you know what? There's one other aspect that we cannot forget. I've long said this, long before the genocide started, when I used to do spaces on India. I used to say that America's occupied by the Zionists, and right underneath there is a thick layer of occupation waiting to come to the surface, and that's the Sanghis, that's the Indians. He's married to an Indian. He got the red carpet treatment in Modi's Zionist government. Let's not forget that. He's got every aspect of toxicity surrounding him. Palantir, the MAGA boy, and married to a Sanghi from India. Like, Modi's government is as bad as Netanyahu's government in terms of infiltration. Freaking, we had one of his boys as our prime minister for a short while. He came from nowhere and became our prime minister. So, yeah.
And he's good friends with Vivek. He named his son after Vivek Ramaswamy. That's why he wears the mascara. It's a cultural thing. Like, I've talked about this guy so much on my live stream. Like, he is enthralled into that Sanghi type of thing or whatever. So this is a wolf in sheep's clothing. You people have seen nothing yet. Everybody talks about all this immigration. It's coming from over there. And I'm not coming at the people, but I'm just saying, and JD Vance, as president, with this techno bro stuff, with all these old jobs coming to America for the H-1Bs, there will be a higher influx of it. Vivek is already trying to take over Ohio to do the same thing. Yeah, no. You know what's crazy? I would feel this is going to sound crazy, more comfortable with Rubio. I'm not pushing Rubio, but at least I know what I'm dealing with Rubio. This wolf in sheep's clothing.
No, you don't know what you're dealing with Rubio. Rubio is the one who actually works for the Zionist donor class.
I know he does. They all do. What are you telling me? You're not telling me anything different.
No, Rubio is their guy. There have been leaks in the press that the donors all support Rubio, not Vance.
I'm not pushing Rubio. I'm saying I know what I'm getting when I get Rubio. I'm not pushing Rubio.
You don't really, because he's a puppet. He will take whatever position the people with the money tell him to take. He has no principles. He used to be in favor of amnesty until he realized that it was not a politically viable position, and then he flip-flop on that. Like, if you actually support mass illegal immigration and amnesty, you are not a principled right-winger in any sense, and that's Rubio. He's just someone who wants to be like in charge. A lot of these politicians are like that. They just want power and they don't really care how they use it. They'll use it however the people with money who help them get the power tell them to use it.
Yes.
Sounds like Trump.
No, Trump's actually an independent. That's what's so crazy about him, is he's got his own ideas and his own thing, and not everyone agrees with them, but it's different than what the donors tell him.
Manco, man has made billions for him and his son-in-law. He is not independent at all. Like, I'm sorry, the White House looks like something that was based in Riyadh when the Saudi king visited. Have you seen him? Have you seen him suck up to the GCC countries? Literally, Lord and Master, did you see him bend over and kiss Xi's hand? Like, literally bend over to kiss his hand? There is no way this guy is independent. What are you talking about?
You're just describing him doing things to enrich himself, instead of him following the orders of other people in order to enrich those other people. So it's a very different dynamic.
Well, I beg to disagree. He literally followed the orders of the Gulf states that funded him and his son-in-law. Literally did, right? So that's what I'm saying.
And this is, predicted that Trump was going to betray Israel like this. The Israelis hate Trump now. Everyone says that America is Zog, that we, follow whatever orders Netanyahu gives, and here he is. Trump has betrayed Israel. The Israelis hate him. Netanyahu's in a terrible position now. Like, could anyone have predicted this? I don't think they did.
Y'all really think that a few words, or maybe they're just buying time? What makes you think that?
Casey. They're merging your military with Israel's to make sure that Israel has access to your entire data, your military, your supply chain.
They're not, though.
Everything.
They're not. You mean that's a proposed bill in Congress that has gone nowhere, that hasn't been voted for?
Did Trump speak against it? Did Trump speak against it? Did Vance speak against it? Have any
no
of these
one
people
has to speak against or for like the many hundreds of bills that are proposed that don't actually go
I
anywhere.
don't see
They'll cheat when it
outrage.
actually becomes an issue.
I don't see outrage by Americans on any of the hundreds of thousands of bills. I have seen absolute outrage by Americans on this bill. They are elected to represent the citizens of the country, yet not one of them has thought it necessary to address this, especially when Israel is the topic of conversation all across American media at the moment. Like, what are you talking about, Mancos? What are they there for?
It's not actually that big of a topic here. It's a much bigger topic internationally.
Cool.
Okay. Let's go to, I'm going to come to you, Jubin. Let's go to Jubin, and Manko, stay with us, and then we'll go to Josia. Jubin, thanks for waiting.
Thank you, Beatrix. Good evening, Suleiman, and good evening, everybody. Yeah, brilliant space, thoroughly enjoying it. And just very quickly on the back of what we've been talking about, just 2 points that I want to make. I think we need to really stand back and take a helicopter view of what has been spoken about by the President of the United States of America and the Vice President, and them both calling out and criticising Israel. Okay, it could be looked at as being some kind of false narrative, some kind of kosher theatre, but I think we need to stand back and really pay attention to this. This is very, very important, you know, that these people have publicly spoken out against Israel and the Israeli regime in their management of their ongoing attacks on Lebanon. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the $300 billion, and I'm going to throw something in here which might be controversial. This is just my thoughts on that. You know, we're discussing whether is this coming from America, coming from US corporations, or coming from GCC. What about the thought that actually GCC are actually going to be making some kind of new defense contract with Iran? Iran is going to be the one protecting them. Iran is going to be protecting the Middle Eastern Gulf countries. America has no longer been able to protect them. They've proven that Iran were able to wipe out much of the military bases. And I know that Mancos will argue with me here, but that's the actual fact of the matter. And that basically Iran will be the ones that protects them for the Strait of Hormuz, for the shipping and the movement of oil and gas, and basically that's my thoughts on what the 300 billion will be used for. Reconstruction, of course, of Iran, but also that Iran will become the new daddy of the region. That's just my thoughts on it, guys. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Jubin. Great points. Appreciate your input. Do you want to welcome Ryan onto the stage? Ryan, hope you're doing well. How are you?
I'm good. Enjoying a particular drink.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you do. Oh, well, it went, like I said on your show, like they signed it immediately. The U.S. and Israel reneged because they can't stop bombing Lebanon. We all knew this would happen, but it's like Mike Rivero says, always force the dictatorship to act like one. It was better for Iran to very, very publicly make this deal and make a big deal out of the deal, knowing what Israel was going to do, so they could show the whole world, you see, even the U.S. was on board, and it's the Israelis that sabotaged the whole thing. It forced their hand, and it made it super clear. And all these people on Wall Street and stuff, they're so mad, you know, and Trump is making all these excuses, like, he can't just say it's the right thing to do and they weren't a threat to us, none of that. He's like, oh, this is, you know, look, the stock market, I did it for them. Not because, oh, maybe we shouldn't bomb schools full of children. And no, it's the stock market, like whatever. I saw you had on Paul Craig Roberts. I really like him. I think he hit a home run. You got to understand, like, right now in Congress, they're talking about incorporating the Mossad with U.S. intelligence. They're talking about just financing the IDF as part of the U.S.'s budget. There's laws in a lot of states that you can't criticize Israel. You're not allowed to work for the government. So does anybody think that they're really going to rein Israel in? Iran knows this. And as far as the $300 billion, they're going to make the Gulf states pay that. And it's just a face-saving way of saying we're not paying a freaking toll, but you are, because that's the first installment of it. So you can have free flow on the Strait of Hormuz, because you've already paid a lump sum, and then in 60 days or whatever, they'll start the toll back again. It's the ball's in their court. Like, Iran has all the leverage here, and I'm just laughing at how Israel has painted itself in the corner, and the U.S. is being exposed too, because when they renege, and they will, the whole world's going to be like, what do they have you on tape doing, man? Like, what? They don't have any recourse here. Like, you're going to collapse the world economy? Is that you'd rather do that? So he's in a tight spot, and there is a chance that the U.S. could at least tell Israel, can you just cool it temporarily? But Israel's not going to listen. They want greater Israel. These people are lunatics, and they can't go 2 days without bombing innocent people. It's just not in their demonic nature.
I'm seeing major clashes between Hezbollah and Israel right now, and apparently there's another major incident for the Israelis where they've got loads of helicopters trying to come in, mass casualties. What do you know about this?
Well, what I'd heard is they got caught in an ambush, and it's weird because the Hezbollah has done this so many times. Well, they'll disable something, wait for the rescue crew, and then they'll jump on them. It's a combination of drones and small arms, just rinse and repeat. And there's no reason they need to change this play because Israel hasn't figured out a countermeasure to it anyway. So let them eat it. And then you heard Trump openly saying, well, maybe Syria could attack Hezbollah. Just admitting, like, yeah, we control ISIS. I can tell you this, the PMU in Iraq is ready to go into Syria should such a thing occur. So you could be looking at the liberation of Syria too. Remember, they knocked them when ISIS controlled Mosul for 2 years in Western Iraq. And then they got pushed out in a matter of 3 days. So you could be looking at a grand slam here where Syria gets liberated, Hezbollah defeats Israel, and the U.S. has to take its bag and go home. I'll love it, but it's not going to be anything quick. So I'm like, oh, deal done, straight open, sanctions lifted. Like, they're not going to lift any sanctions. They're not going to unfreeze that. They're not going to do any of that stuff. And Iran is already saying, look, if Israel, if you can't control them from bombing Lebanon, then the deal's off. So Trump is really stuck right now. It's all Vance talking some stuff, but right now it's all talk. Like, do something. Sanction Israel. Do something concrete to Israel. They can't because they're compromised.
Do you heard the news, right, that they've cancelled the meeting in Switzerland?
I had not heard that, but that's I never thought they were going there anyway. Well, because they're, like, signings, whatever. The meeting is when you negotiate over the terms you're signing. There's nothing to negotiate. If Israel's going to bomb Lebanon, that deal's off. That's like paragraph 1, sentence 1, right? Stop hostilities across, and that includes Israel attacking Lebanon. So Iran's just gonna be like, all right, we're just, you're just not gonna have oil then, okay? And the U.S. has got to panic right now. Israel doesn't seem to care, and it's funny because I mean they're getting theirs from the Caspian region. Well, if Turkey would just go and close the tap, which the U.S. could go and talk to them and have them do, Israel would be like in a Cuba type situation with the lights going off, but they're not going to do it. And you wonder why. Both nations are stronger than Israel. What is it that Israel has that gives them such leverage over the United States? One is, your Christian Zionist, bumpkin boomer Bible thumpers that vote a certain way. But the main thing is the lobby and the Epstein class. That's why they obey.
So also, Ryan, Larry Johnson revealed to us when we were interviewing him yesterday that his intelligence sources told him that there was a plan to assassinate Galibaf and Aragchi by the Israelis in Geneva, hence why they cancelled the signing ceremony, moved it to some place in the mountains, and it was then became a negotiation as opposed to before it was cancelled today. But that was the original Israeli plan, was to murder them Thoughts? And that's in the nest, guys.
I
Larry
mean, the
Johnson.
first part of that I can see, but moving it to another place nearby is just dumb. Just don't even do it. Have them say, all right, well, how about you come here? You know, when the Israelis know who's going to be at a certain place, they will do stuff like this. And they know there wouldn't be any consequences even if they did do something like that. Well, they've done it before. They killed negotiators before. Iran's a bit different than, Nasrallah or something, but still, I mean, they've killed the leaders of Hezbollah and Hamas. They've killed, I think everyone ought to put a question mark on Raisi too, when his helicopter went down. He's like, I don't know. But it's not just the assassinations attempt or whatever. I mean, maybe that happens to also be true. But this would have been canceled anyway because Israel bombed Lebanon. And this is what I've been saying. First words out of my mouth when you asked me about it a couple of days ago or 3 days ago, whatever it was, I was like, it doesn't matter because the first point's Lebanon and Israel's going to break that. And they're going to say, well, we're not part of the deal. It's the U.S. and Iran. We never signed anything, so we can still bomb kids or whatever. And Iran's like, look, control your boy or we can close the strait again at any time. Now, I don't think they're going to close the strait over this attack yet. But they're saying there's no reason to negotiate these points until you control your boy. And if he keeps acting the way he does, then, forget it. Deal's off.
So just on that, so guys, two things. One thing is that statement by Larry Johnson is in the nest where he talked about the Israeli assassination. So do check that out, retweet it, very important. But also, so they have cancelled it, by the way, Ryan. They did say they're not going to be going to Switzerland because the Israelis are violating the ceasefire in Lebanon and continue to bomb continue to basically bomb Lebanon. So that deal is off. Do you see the Mujtaba Khamenei statement, Ryan? He basically said that he did not agree with this deal, but he is going with the views of the president and the head of the National Security Council, which is Galibaf, and he's trusting that they'll make the right decisions. And but he says it's not the way he would go. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, it's smart. It's good cop, bad cop, because it's like, oh well, this guy never agreed with this anyway, so you either deal with him or us. I don't think it's that he doesn't agree with the deal. It's that he doesn't believe it. Meaning, well, the U.S. says this stuff all the time, and they never follow through with their promises. So, without leverage, or without, why don't you pay something up front? Remember, they were like, "How about release the $12 billion?" And people were like, "Well, they're going to get paid that up front." I said, "No, they're not. They haven't, and they're not. That ain't happening because the U.S. is lying. Like he's right. This is a bad deal in the sense that they're not going to do it. It's a good deal if it was all true, but it isn't. The U.S. is just saying things to try and get, Iran to uphold its half of the bargain, and the U.S. is going to renege like they always do. So in reality, it's not a good deal because they are dishonest, and we all know this. And it's like, don't be Putin with Boris Johnson. Like, do not believe these people. Never give up your edge. They are going to lie to you. But can you imagine if Israel did that assassination? Like Iran would blow them off the map. They're they really are like a dog with rabies or something. They don't have foresight.
The just to another question for you, Ryan. So Iran ended the negotiations. They said they will not be traveling to Switzerland until Lebanon stops. Israel's response was to bomb even harder. So since Iran ended negotiations, Israel's been bombing even more harder, essentially going back to pre-ceasefire. What I mean by ceasefire is, since these last 3-4 days when there's kind of been a tenuous ceasefire, although they've been hitting Lebanon, but it's not been as ferocious, but they've gone back to being the same level of ferocious attacks. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I imagine Iran will give the U.S. a couple of days before they react. They'll say, "See what your little monster's doing? They're ruining the deal." They'll give them a couple of days to talk to Israel or say, threaten Israel or take something away from Israel to see if they can control them. And if America doesn't do anything but a bunch of finger waving and Vance, you know, saying, yeah, you don't do that. Like if they don't do anything concrete, then this won't be just a delay. It'll just be, they're going to figure out, okay, you can't be negotiated with. I really think this was kind of a test. And it was a test that Iran kind of knows the answer already, but they want to go ahead and show the world, like, look, we put it out on the table and they played all these stupid games and they kept bombing people and and we said, don't do that. And we gave them another chance and they just, America won't do anything to Israel. So it needs to be shown. China needs to see it. The people because they're going to be mad if the Strait gets reclosed, but they're going to say, hey, what else do you want us to do? We had a deal in play. We were ready to negotiate. We said, stop bombing people in Lebanon. You can't have greater Israel. This is something the whole world ought to be telling Israel this anyway. And so it's like forces them to show their hand, which is a brilliant move. It's what it's like. Iran's made some mistakes, but this is not one. This is a good one. Like, put the deal out, make it super public, watch the Israelis break it, watch the Americans allow it. And then it just proves your point. See, they can't control Israel. Israel controls the United States. They cannot be negotiated with. The only way to deal with this is on the battlefield. We're going to have to Karam Shah for Tel Aviv. And that's what's going to happen.
You know, you mentioned Paul Craig Roberts, Ryan. This is the first time I ever heard him speak, but for me, he's like an actor. It's like I was talking to Clint Eastwood. You know, like how you imagined an American to be when you were a kid. Like Clint Eastwood. He was like, when he was talking, I was like, oh, bro, his accent is so cool. Like, I'm literally speaking to someone who literally sounds like Clint Eastwood, and he's based as well. He was awesome. You were mentioning him. What's your thoughts on him?
I can't believe that's the first time you've heard Paul Craig Roberts talk.
It is.
But you know what? This was my point a long time ago when you used to have those hooligans on, like Gage and Parker and stuff. I'm like, I had a list of people. I got so mad. I wrote on X. I was like, Paul Craig Roberts, Ray McGovern, Larry Johnson, Scott Ray. I was naming all the old G's, Grant F. Smith, Karen, who now most of these people are all on your show. And I can give you some other recommendations because there's some other people who really deserve the reach. They have none, but it's like the knowledge to reach gap. All these people with super big reach don't know what they're talking about. And all the people that know what they're talking about are censored into oblivion. And you're acting like a bridge, like someone that has both and they can give access to people who deserve it. And I really like seeing these people on your show. It's like such an improvement from years ago. It's like, this is a real guest list. The problem is, it isn't just you. It's like almost no one has heard of these people who weren't in it for 20 years, 30 years, because they're not allowed to talk anywhere. They're not ever on TV. They're not going to be, they're a little old for the social media game. They're not allowed on Facebook or any of this stuff. X, is nerfed. So they're all on Substack right now, but like that's growing and it's really not on par with any of the big social media. So yeah, but Paul Craig Roberts has always been like this. I met him one time. Phil Giraldi's another one you ought to pull on the show. You want another OG that'll like a real American that'll just give it to you straight, especially on Israel.
You're cutting out, Ryan, but yeah, definitely send me anyone that I haven't interviewed and you think they're going to be really good. And I don't really care if they've got a big name or not. Like, I'm willing to platform anyone, especially if they're knowledgeable. Ryan's thinking it out, and he was right though. He's right about the people I used to platform. The amount of idiots that I've made, like, I'm not boasting, but if you actually look at all the big names, like, they've all been made by me. Like, he mentioned Lucas, he was made by me. He had about 20k followers. All those people he mentioned, all of them made by me. All the people who run space.
I said X is nerfed and they booted me.
Yeah, you're back.
Hey, I don't know how much. I'm just praising people like Phil Giraldi and Paul Craig Roberts and stuff. These are the OGs, and like, they really just don't get the credit they deserve. They've been writing about this stuff and talking about this stuff forever, especially Paul and Gareth Porter and some of these people have just been saying this forever. And I really like that they're now getting access to like the youth or whatever, and getting, known by another generation. Because back in the day, Palestine was getting obliterated before, and these were the people talking about it, but they were censored on everything. And I'm surprised you're allowed on YouTube. Like, it's shocking. I kind of knock on wood. I think once it grows big enough, they'll probably get rid of you. But censorship's always been the problem. And when I got kicked off the space, I had to go through, find your page, scroll down and get it, because there's no longer a little purple button on the top for me to touch. Why? As soon as Iran war hits, right, they're like I see Mario's space up there, but I don't see yours. And I blocked him, and I have you on with the bell icon or whatever, and it just doesn't show that you're streaming. It's messed up.
Yeah, you were so right, Ryan, about no, but you're right. Obviously, the censoring goes because they're afraid of the truth. But in terms of what you said, in terms of the guest list, you're so right. Like, these people just have a huge amount of knowledge. The conversations are just deep rather than stupidity. And yeah, it was because
Dude, everyone argued with me. They're like, "How about Nick Fuentes?" I'm like, he doesn't know shit compared to these people. Like you're impressed with that because you've not been allowed to see any adults.
Yeah, for me, it wasn't that I was impressed, because most of these people, they were learning from me, but it was more that I was under this thing that, I want to have a free speech platform. I want to give everyone a chance. But little did I know, by giving all of them a chance, they just basically use the opportunity to grow and become big and then become psychos. So that was the problem. So I've learned a lot from this, that like, most people are there to basically use you to try and become big. So the ones that don't, that's the people I'm kind of still just engaging with now, rather than the users.
Yeah, there's a lot of clout chasers, but the thing is, like, I agree with free speech, but they can have their own space. They're on X too. Like, that's that. But it's like the people who deserve the reach are the ones who have put in their time. Like, I'm glad Anna Kasparian's blown up, and she's put a lot of time in too, like a lot. Like, me and her kind of started around. I'm a little bit earlier than her, but these other Paul Craig Roberts and people like that have been doing this for like 40 years or more. And they've been correct on these things. Ray McGovern's in his 80s. Colonel Wilkerson's I think he's 80. Like, they've been doing this, and people that crap on boomers, I'm like, hey, look at it. You got Paul, you got Larry's in his 70s, that you've got these people in their 70s and 80s that are ones carrying the ball.
But who's attacking the boomers? My whole audience is American boomers. I love the boomers. I look at the stats,
well,
like 35%.
They're kind of the best and the worst, because they're super active politically, because their parents were in the Second World War, so they don't ignore politics. But like, some of the worst people are, but some of the best are too. The Gen X, I'm sad to say, that's my generation, just barely. They're apathetic. They don't do anything. There's no one my age doing this stuff. It's like way older or way younger, and then there's a gap. Very few people touch this stuff. I mean, even Ritter's like 60. Like, it's the youth just don't engage in this, and they've just grown up with distractions and learned helplessness and da-da-da-da. Like, boomers are the bulk of the people really that are anti-war and really speaking out and giving accurate information and writing books and stuff are in that age bracket. So I don't like this dismissive okay boomer stuff. I'm mad that a bunch of the holy rollers voted out Thomas Massey, but if the youth had voted, they would have won, because the boomers outvoted the next 3 generations combined. And apathy just is an automatic forfeit. So you can't like complain because some group is more active than you when you outnumber them.
Yeah, Ryan, I think it's really not the it's the boomers that were force fed, that are shoved down our throats, because all the guys you're mentioning, I'm Zoomer too. I have no idea who they are, but I know who Mark Levin is, Glenn Beck, these characters, because they play the game. And I think some of the older intellectuals, they get jaded too quickly from these platforms, and so then they just give up. But there's been a massive regime change in YouTube when Wojcicki stepped down, and there's a new CEO. Things have changed on the platform, And there's just like a lot of unwillingness, I think, from kind of the old heads to get back on and continue to fight there. And they're, you know, searching for too much stability, whereas the
No, it's
younger
still
Zoom,
censored. Like Larry Johnson's channel was removed. Scott Ritter's channel was removed. I'm still not allowed back on either. Like they're allowed on Judge Napolitano or Nemo, whatever. There's certain channels they've left alone, and so they're all like on these as guests.
That's
But
true.
they're not allowed to
Both of
start.
them were
They
telling
can't
me.
start.
This is so
Yeah.
true, Ryan. Both of them actually told me that they can't go on and they can't create their own channels, so they have to like rely on others.
how is that? So like what, because I know somebody who got banned last year or 2 years ago, maybe 2.5, and then he was able to just start another account, and all he had to do was just change his you know, change like the phone number and change his like monetization, whatever that's called, when your AdSense account, and he was fine on the platform.
There's
So
certain people whose names are like totally blacklisted. Like Ryan's an example of that. When I interview Ryan now, Ryan, I don't even put his full name, and then that video does better. So it is like certain people are completely like everyone knows who Scott Ritter is. People know who Ryan is. People know who Larry Johnson is. Larry's gotten kind of a new type channel now, but again, that got banned again, and then they had to create a new one.
But
So
people didn't know who Larry Johnson was 3 years ago.
no, I totally agree with that. Yeah, I didn't know.
You know, like I started interviewing him about Ukraine and stuff, and Andrei Martinyanov too. People still don't know who he is, and they ought to. It's like, and because they are censored, so am I. Like I would have a YouTube and interview all these guests, and then everybody would know who they are. But I ain't allowed on YouTube, and I can't just switch my phone number to stuff. Trust me. Like obviously, I've thought of that. Like I got banned in 2008, okay, from YouTube. You know, and I was able to make an alternative later that I actually had already made before I got banned, and switched to that for a little while, and then they banned that one. They even banned my babysitter. Like I can't make a new channel. If my name is on your video, you'll get nerfed or you'll get banned outright, because there are people that are just blacklisted. Like, don't let this person talk. Because for me, it's not just like, oh, quit bombing kids in Palestine and the Iran war is stupid. It's like it's Epstein, it's September 11th. It's a lot of major issues. So they don't want me to speak. And I'm telling you, anybody that goes down this path, they get censored. And this is the problem. Like the reason a lot of young people don't know about a lot of voices that they probably would love to listen to. Like, wow, who is that guy? Never heard of that. Like Chas Friedman is another G, another boomer. Awesome. But people don't know who he is. Because he's not allowed to talk.
I messaged him, but he's like really old, and he said, "Look, I'm really old, and I'm really tired, and I'm actually reducing the number I've done." He's a really nice guy, and Paul just messaged me now with a really nice message. He really enjoyed coming on the show. And in terms of cancellation, you're right. Like I'm more newer to social media. Like I've only been on like 3 years, and already, if you look at the censorship, so my original channel, Suleiman Ahmed X, the reason I created another one is because that one's just been completely nerfed, and and that's got so this is why Moral Resistance doesn't even have my name on it. And obviously on X they took away my blue check mark monetization. Like it's very difficult. TikTok they took it away.
Well, they took away like $1 million deal from you.
Exactly. So the problem is I just totally agree with you. And the difference is that you've been dealing with this since, and you have to give you credit, like to be dealing with this since 2008. That's like
well, no, they kicked me off MySpace and AOL in 2005.
2005, so that's 21 years. Like that just shows the level of persistence you've had to be able to expose the truth and not giving up, because most of these like new kids would give up after that, but 21 years of just carry on going. It's like my page, even though my X page I've been basically blue check mark removed, demonetized. I continued posting for 2 years, did spaces every day for 2 years, never ever stopped. These kids don't get that. They don't get, like, you got to have that determination to continue going.
Yeah, I think the only reason I have a check mark is because it's in Asia, and so they don't have power there. But if you're in the UK, forget about it. Like, forget about it. I was just on a show with a surgeon, a medical doctor, not allowed to do surgery on people because he spoke out against the genocide. So they fired him. And it's like, what? He's a doctor. So people are just gonna, like, fewer people are gonna get help now because they're censoring professionals for their political opinions on Israel. That's, of course, that was out of the UK. Like, of course. It's just like, as bad as America is, I always look at the UK and Canada and go, see, it can get worse. They'll throw you in jail in Australia if you say the wrong thing about Israel. You just go to jail. Like, it's unbelievable with the things they enforce and don't enforce. They have so many stabbings in London, but they're worried about what you write on Facebook about the chosen ones. This is disgusting. But like, I really love that, like, your channel and Nemo are getting all these people that have been talking about this 20, 30, 40 years who are just such a wealth of knowledge that this is what was taken from us. Like, people have been talking about it. We used to have in-person meetings at the Washington Press Club in DC with, Ermep and Grant F. Smith would organize these things. That's where I met Max Blumenthal and Norman Finkelstein and Jim Webb and a ton of people would go to these events. Scott Horton and Justin Raimondo, rest in peace. Like, we'd all meet in person and we do these things and they put them on YouTube, and then YouTube would just get rid of it. And like, there's nowhere else to go. Rumble didn't exist yet. X was still, under the Dorsey regime, so you couldn't put it there. And this is the most frustrating thing. And this is why my key, talking point was always, you can't get political change until you fix the media. Like, if you don't have free speech, it doesn't matter what you know, because you won't be able to communicate it or organize it because you can't reach anybody.
That's true. So true. Ryan,
Can you imagine if my 9/11 film got a bump from Tucker or just any big celebrity? It'd be like, that would just be it. It'd be over.
Yeah,
that would change.
I think there's a reason Tucker isn't, come on, it's impossible, and I actually mean impossible, based on who he knows, who we know, all of the people who've promoted you, me promoting you, all that kind of stuff. It is simply impossible he would not know about your 9/11 movie. And so this isn't lack of knowledge or awareness, this is intentional, and then the question mark becomes, what's the intent?
Well, then, like an Andrew Tate or Dan Bilzerian or something, like somebody with a pretty big reach. I think what would happen, though, if any of them shared it, they would just nerf their account down to practically zero, and still nobody would see it. I don't think you can do it on X. I think it would have to be on Substack or something. And what's odd is, on the even playing field, a lot of these big names, they don't have a substantial Substack. The writers have the big Substacks. The influencers, not so much. But I think it's they don't want to start something new when they're doing so well on Instagram or whatever already. I get it. But, I even think Instagram has a better algorithm than X now, if you're allowed on. I ain't, but I'm not allowed on Meta anything, but they seem to have changed. I see outrageously racist stuff on there.
Ryan, I'm on there. I've grown quite a bit, but I'm again demonetized. But in terms of algorithm, yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I think the X algorithm is basically zero.
Exactly.
I hardly even use X anymore, because what's the point? I think I lose about 100 followers a day. I'm down from 325,000 to 322.8 or something. And I'm not saying anything different. And I was never bought or anything. It's just what I write doesn't reach people unless I say something that isn't true. Then the million people will see it. If I say some sarcastic bullshit. And I don't know if it's kind of the audience on X is also retarded on average, but it's Nikita Bear has just ruined the X platform.
Ryan, in terms of going back to the Iran war, where do you see things happening now in terms of I know it's hard to predict a timeline, but from a timeline perspective or whatever?
Well, I think Iran will give the U.S. a couple days to deal with Israel. Israel's bombing Lebanon. They say, hey, this is, line 1, paragraph 1. You got to deal with this. So they will give them, I don't know, 2 or 3 days. I'm just guessing, to say, do something about this, or you're going to lose the deal. And, I'm 50-50 on that. I mean, Trump just went out and said, like, oil's down, Wall Street's up, stocks are up, blah, 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 because of the announcement of this news. But if it's all over again, I mean, you can't keep playing market yo-yo. Like, you could have speculators committing suicide. I don't think Iran's going to react to the bombing on Lebanon just yet. They'll give the U.S., 36 hours or something to deal with it. And if nothing is done, then, we're back to where we were before the deal was signed. They're going to have to do some kind of concession like, all right, did you unfreeze any assets? No. Have you lifted any sanctions? No. Did you get control of Israel? No. Then why should we open the strait? They're going to have to do something. So we're looking at the clock and like, do a concrete step. Now, I'll tell you two things the U.S. did do. They took their refuelers and they put them back in Europe, and they have rescinded their blockade. So like, okay, that is not nothing. A little bit more. Let's see a little bit more. And it all depends on how the U.S. behaves, of what they can come up with, because they're not going to control Israel. So they might have to unfreeze some assets or something, which they didn't plan on, but they might have to, because if the choice is anything or control Israel, it'll be the anything.
The Iranians haven't lifted their own, like they haven't opened the Strait of Hormuz yet. What's your understanding of what may happen there?
I mean, why should they? Well, the U.S. is reneged on every deal, so they're going to have to act first. And then, they're letting, it's clopen. It's closed open. It's not closed to Iran's allies. Some oil can get out, but they can't give up that leverage. I mean, that's the whole reason the U.S. is complying, is they've run out of military options and they can't get the strait open. And they got maybe a month or two left of reserves. So you're going to have to obey, or you're going to start having shortages somewhere.
Yeah. Let's see what happens.
I think they're talking to Jelani, like, can you attack Hezbollah? And then we're like, oh, we don't have control of ISIS. It's not Israel, it's Syria. But it's yes, you do. You armed him, you paid for him, you organized him, you gave him recognition. I don't think he can. I think there's so much internal conflict between the terrorist groups in Syria that they can't get an organized front, not quickly. And then Iran took care of the Kurds. They were bombing them as recently as 2 days ago, still bombing northern Iraq in that area on the spook bases. That's not just the U.S., that's the UK too. Their bases were there as well, secretly. So MI6 and the CIA got bent over a barrel. And it's very interesting. It's almost too good to be true. It's like, yeah, I'm looking at what the options the U.S. and Israel have. Like, you don't have a military solution. You don't have an economic solution like, oh, if we would just trade with so-and-so, that would make up for the... Nope. You're going to have to take the L. And I just don't see Israel behaving rationally, because they're a bunch of religious fanatics that think God promised them dirt, and they want to annex Lebanon. They think it's their last shot at it, because it is. Netanyahu waited 47 years to do this. So that makes me like give credence to the intelligence that Larry Johnson, you said he had, is they're going to try assassinations. Like, well, let's just kill the negotiators and get some new ones. Like, that's their plot. So I hope everyone involved is bunkered down deep underground or whatever, because as it is now, unless they have something dramatic like that, I don't see a way out of this for Team Zionism. Probably just go blow this shit out of Gaza in frustration.
Yeah, I mean, that's the Israeli way, right?
It's what they did after 06. So that it's what, and there's nothing anyone can do about that. Sadly, it's no more than what they're doing anyway. I mean, Hezbollah is killing as many IDF as they can. We'll see. But the PMU, I heard from very good source, they are ready to go into Syria if they activate that cell. It's just more killing, but that's the only way out is through. I really don't think you can negotiate with serial liars, but Trump does care about the markets, and he is facing impeachment and all this pressure. I think it doesn't matter what he does. He loses the midterms anyway over the Epstein files. So he's kind of a lame duck, and he knows it. And, you know, he made a big, like, theatrical performance to act like we're really going to do the deal this time. And every single one of us says, oh, well, the first point of the 14 is stop bombing Lebanon, and Israel isn't going to do it. And we knew what they were going to say. Well, Israel didn't sign the deal. The U.S. did. It's like, well,
what's your thoughts on this whole thing where it looks like JD Vance is going out attacking the Trump pairs? Do you think that's a drama? It's a fake?
well, Vance wants to be, you know, he has to follow the leader. That's his party. He's next in line. He's the vice president, and he would become president if Trump got impeached. So it's kind of in his own interest to let it go. Regardless what happens in the midterms, if Trump gets out, he automatically becomes president. But no, he's following Trump, and he'll say he's saying stuff about Bibi because Trump can't. Trump is compromised, but it's just a bunch of talk. They could easily just say, all right, we're not giving you $3 billion or $4.5 billion this year. No, Israel, we're not going to like supply you with F-35s and radar and interceptors. So no, cut off military aid, cut off financial aid. They could do that. They're not even talking about it. They're just saying, oh, well, you can't blow up a whole building full of people just because you're after a terrorist. You need to do it this way. Da da da. Then he turned around and talked about sending in ISIS. He didn't call them ISIS. He called it Syria, but that's what it is. Yeah, it's blah, blah, blah. I don't care what you say. Do something. Like, it's a bunch of pro wrestling dialogue, you know, like there are concrete things you can do. I have not seen any of them done. And until I see you actually back up what you're saying, it's all hollow threats.
You think Jelani would do it? Because if they did something like that, I can imagine a lot of Muslims, Sunni Muslims, taking the side of Jelani.
Well, I don't think he can. Would he? Yeah, I don't think he can. They're in disarray. Like his own terrorists were going after him for not doing it already. They would have activated this earlier if it was a possibility. So I think this is more talk. The factions in Syria, HTS, which is Al-Nusra Front, you know, Turkey got what it wanted in Syria, and they crippled it. And it didn't matter because, well, it mattered. It made a big deal, but it didn't work because of drones. Like Hezbollah is not dependent on a bridge getting ballistic missiles from Iran. They can build drones locally. When people are like, where are they getting these drones from? I'm like, they make them themselves. So that black swan came, but there's internal fighting between the Wahhabis. They're not organized, even though the sanctions were lifted on Syria, which a lot of people thought silver lining was, well, at least they'll get economic relief and turn the economy around. No, even with all of those sanctions removed, the economy is still in the toilet because the regime is run by a bunch of monkeys. So they have every advantage, and they can't get the economy going because you're dealing with inbred Salafists, the IQ of like 73, and they just don't know what they're doing. And the Syrians did not move back. There's still refugees all over Europe and Turkey. Because you know ISIS will kill them if they're of the wrong category. So all that brain power and you know store owners and all that left, they lost. It's sad what happened to Syria, but I don't think Jelani has the means to attack Hezbollah. And honestly, how would they fare any better than the IDF? The IDF has armor, night vision, and all the gadgets and stuff, and they have an air force. ISIS doesn't have an air force. I guess you'd have to have the combination, but then again, if Israel bombs Lebanon at all, then Iran pulls from the deal. So if you have ISIS go in without an air force, I think Hezbollah just starches them. And I know they're experienced, and I know they're hard fighters, but Hezbollah is better organized and They have a lot of the Syrian arms cache anyway. That's where it ended up. And ISIS is fractured, and I think they'll eat each other. I'm not worried about them. They're not. It's kind of like they have to be fighting somebody to be unified. And the moment that common enemy like Assad is gone, they all turn on each other. It's called the narcissism of small differences. And you're seeing there's a whole bunch of factions, and they're mad at Jolani because he's, believe it or not, he's actually trying to police them from just ethnically cleansing
Now,
all
the
the
first thing
Alawites.
is Iran has cancelled
Not
their
doing the best job because they
negotiations
are
with the
ethnically
United States.
cleansing Alawites, but it would be a lot worse if Jolani wasn't trying to have some semblance of order. And they're look, you allied with maniacs that think if you're not of their brand of Sunni Islam, which is an unusual like extremist like fundamentalist version of it, then they'll kill you. If you're a Christian, if you're an Alawite, if you're a Shia at all, Druze, they're going around butchering them, dragging them through the streets and stuff. So in order to get some recognition, they're like, you guys, this is bad PR. You can't be doing this like this, at least. So now they're turning on Jelani too. So he might have to get replaced before Syria could attack anybody.
That's funny. I mean, Trump said it. Did you see in the White House? He was basically like, "Oh yeah, guess what? Jelani's my guy. Like he'll do whatever I say." He's just like, "Yes sir. 3 bags full, sir."
Yeah, he is. I mean, that's his guy. But I'm telling you, he's not in control of all the gangs. He's got like the
United
biggest
States
gang,
of America.
but they're splintered, and it was always like that from the beginning. You had like Aral al Sham, for example. He had the FSA, and you had Al Nusra Front. Those were kind of the big three, and then there's a whole bunch of minor ones, and then you have the Kurds and Rojava and blah blah blah, and then you had the SAA fighting everybody. And they had allies, and their allies were Shia militias from Iraq and Iran and Hezbollah. Hezbollah, you notice in Latakia, they're the territory they were in. Hezbollah won all its battles against ISIS. They never controlled that area. Other things changed hands a bunch of times. Palmyra, Deir ez-Zor, Al Tamf, because the U.S. helped there. Manbij, Aleppo, like Aleppo went back and forth. All of that. And Idlib was always Sunni, and Latakia was always not under their control, and still isn't. They're still on that West Coast area where the Russian base is, where Hezbollah intervened. They never got control. Like what's left of the SAA is all in that area. I don't see them rebounding or anything, but at least ISIS didn't get everything, and they never really took Rojava either. That's Kurdish territory. That whole northeast sector is the Kurds sitting on what little oil Syria has, making sure that they can't use it for their own economy. Sad. And the U.S. hasn't completely left Syria either. They've greatly reduced, like in Al Tamf, there's a base. It's kind of in Syria and Jordan. And so they just went across the line. Now they're on the Jordanian side of the line. But, I mean, they still control the highways and stuff, so nothing getting in or out. Yeah, it's a mess. But anyway, he doesn't have the total control people think he has. He's made the leader, and they recognize him and all that, but these gangs don't listen to him.
And obviously, he's backed by the US and he's backed by Turkey and Saudi. Who do you think has the most influence over someone like him?
A lot of people would think the U.S., but I think Turkey. I mean, Al Nusra was their gang, so Erdogan could order him around. He'll obey Trump too, because Turkey listens to the United States as well. But the thing is, they're not centralized. Like all these gangs in Syria running around looting and raping and stuff. It's like anarchy. And Jelani, he can only order them to do stuff he knows they'll do anyway. Like if he ever really went against them, they just would kill him and replace him. It went radio. So I have a film called Syria, Israel's Invisible Hand. And it went over, like, timeline wise, all the factions and what happened there. You know, Assad had victory for a short time. And ISIS has had a victory for a few years. But I think their time's almost up too. Syria is still in play.
Suleiman, you there? It's got quiet there, Ryan.
Ryan,
Yeah,
you
I
really think
paused
they
to
can
let
get
him speak, but I didn't hear anything, so I just kept talking.
Ryan, let me ask you a quick question, please. Gilani's their man. You really think they're going to get rid of him?
Oh, U.S. likes him. They need somebody in charge. They need a strong man, and he has the largest faction. But if you're going to mobilize, I mean, they can't call it ISIS, but I will call it ISIS. If you're going to mobilize all these terrorists to go attack Hezbollah, they don't listen to him. He's not in charge of all the gangs. It's like think of it like the Mexican cartels. Like, maybe you favor the Sinaloa or whatever because it's numerically the biggest, but Zeta and a lot of the other ones, they're like, we don't listen to them. Their whole thing was destroying Assad and creating the kind of backwards culture they wanted in Syria, and they looted and raped and they destroyed artifacts and all the things they wanted to do. But he can't. He does not have reign over all these factions. He never has. They just declared it like, oh, he's the ruler, but there are pockets of Syria ruled by rival terrorist groups, and they just give him the finger.
Yeah, but they want to use them as their strong arm to take out Hezbollah, but it's not going to. I agree with you, Ryan. You know what I'm saying? Right. Whole thing, Khalees, Khalees, listen to me. Beatrix, it's not going to work.
I want him gone. I can't stand that frigging Gilani. Like, literally,
Yeah.
it's against the will of the Syrian people. He is an ISIS, like the way that Ryan described him is spot on. He doesn't have the support of the people. HTS were terrorizing people even before he became leader within Syria, literally terrorizing and torturing them, and now they've made him leader. They destroyed that country nearly. You know what I mean? It's devastating. So I
They
want
did
him gone.
the same thing in Libya, and it's like, but he doesn't even have the support of all the other terrorists. That's what's really odd. He doesn't have support of them either. And it's kind of like Netanyahu. They're mad that he's not bloodthirsty enough. There are Israelis that are mad at Bibi because he didn't kill enough Gazans. They didn't do enough force in Gaza, which is insane, considering it looks like a pile of rubble. Like, what else do you want him to do? Like, gas them or something? Like, but yeah, they want them all dead. And there's some people like, they shouldn't be any Christians in Syria. Like, they're still there. He's not just going to murder them all. And he really couldn't internationally, like the U.S., just from a PR point of view. Like, no, you can't do that. But, yeah, I mean, they're desperate if they're talking about revitalizing ISIS to attack Hezbollah. And it's not just because, oh, well, Israel can't fight them without their Air Force because Iran's drawn a red line on using the Air Force on Lebanon. It's the IDF has been getting its ass kicked on the ground. And if they're not allowed to bomb civilians, they will lose that war so fast. And you saw the same thing actually happen with ISIS in Iraq. They took Mosul for years, and then it was ironically Donald Trump that got rid of air support. This is back in 2016 Trump. It was 2017, October 17th. The U.S. decided not to defend ISIS in Iraq. And they got murked in 36 hours. They were all running back across the border to Syria, and all of Iraq was liberated. It didn't take long once Daddy wasn't protecting them. And I could see the same thing. Like, if the IDF doesn't have all these helicopters and jets bombing civilians and protecting the ground, they're going to get starched. They are anyway, even with their Air Force. So they really don't know what to do. That's why they're talking about getting ISIS involved. Like, that means you've run out of options, because that is a wild dog. That is a pack of hyenas. They're going to do what they're going to do. and I just don't see them faring well against Hezbollah. Hezbollah is more organized, and this isn't the same ISIS that Assad was fighting. Like a lot of them got killed by the SAA, but a lot of them have been fighting with each other, and or they've got more to lose. You know, they've stolen property and stuff, so they don't want to lose it. They're not having like mercenaries from all over the world, because you remember old ISIS, they had like Chechens, Tunisians, they had people from everywhere for that fight because they were getting paid by the Gulf states. They won't have that support. If the UAE or Saudi Arabia tried to sponsor ISIS again, Iran will annihilate them. And so without their sponsorship, mercenaries need bags of gold, and that isn't there. I don't see Turkey doing it either. So Trump and Netanyahu are like, what are you going to do? You going to covertly sponsor ISIS and have them attack Hezbollah? Like, you think Iran won't see that? This is not a real option. They'd have to go in with what they have, and what they have is not enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Sorry, Andrew, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say,
I hope that got
absolutely.
recorded, because I just explained that really well. I hope I get that.
No, yeah, absolutely, Ryan. You laid it out. Yeah, the whole thing, Beatrix. He laid it out perfectly well. If the IDF, they're incompetent, they have no ability, and if they don't have the backing of the U.S., and it's not going to work. It won't work. And I'm telling you, this thing with Vance, I know it's a lot of show. I know we had speakers on here saying it's all political posturing and show, but I think it's a sign, a portent of what's to come. And basically, it's Israel knocked this crap off. We don't have your back. I think that's really going to leave them out hanging in the wind. But we'll see.
By the way, guys, make sure you're giving Ryan a follow. Great guy. Follow his account, Ryan Liberty, and do check out his Substack. He's got glorious stuff on there. Ryan, I need to message you as well. I need to get you back on the show as well. I know you don't normally, you try your best not to do Saturdays because of fam, so it'd probably have to be like hour later Saturday and your Sunday. But yeah, give Ryan a follow. This guy's a legend.
I got a guy named Jaro that if you want to talk about the ISIS portion of this and all, he'd be a good guest for you too.
Yeah, of course, yeah, for sure. We'll get him on. And guys, the Moral Resistance channel, which is the Tweet in the Nest. No, it's not the Tweet in the Nest. It's the co-host on the space. Follow that. Let's get to the 3,000 followers. We'd put all of our interviews there. It's already growing. We've only been doing it for a bit. So, and all the clips, like Larry's clip about him saying that they were trying to assassinate Galibaf and Aragchi. That's an exclusive, and it was on there as well. We have got Larry coming on in about 5 minutes. So if you're on this second channel, I've pinned the Moral Resistance channel, so you can click on that and come across. We'll be moving across in about 5 minutes. But yeah, everyone make sure you're giving Ryan a follow. Very close friend of mine. Except for some of the things, some of his habits I don't agree with, such as pulling out with these random drinks. But it is what it is. People do what they do. But other than that, the guy's a legend of the game. So make sure you're following him.
I'm just gonna say, a little birdie told me a case is in the mail to Larry Johnson's house.
No
So
way, bro.
that's what I heard.
Oh my god.
For those who don't know, this is not alcohol or anything like that. This is just a normal, awesome drink that doesn't exist in the UK.
Hilarious.
Because things that taste good are illegal.
That's true. That's true.
But I'll pop off and I'll listen to you and Larry. And I need to talk to you about Substack, because there's a couple things you could do that you're not doing that would change everything. So when you have some time, just give me a ring.
I will.
On Telegram.
I'll ring you probably today after the streams.
All right, that sounds good.
Awesome. Look after yourself. And everyone, make sure you follow Ryan. He is actually a really close friend of mine. Make sure you follow him. Legit guy. Talk about all these other people. He's not like that. He's a legit person. Check him out. So let's go to Prashant. Prashant, jump in. You've had your hand up for a while. I do want to hear what you've got to say.
Can I ask him a quick question, because I got to go? Okay.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Suleiman. Yeah. That was an excellent long analysis by Ryan. I really appreciated it a lot. And the thing about boomers, I think that they, whoever they are, the dark side, are using this boomer criticism as a divide tactic, because I think Ryan gave an excellent, or it was either Ryan or Suleiman, I'm a little tired, whoever gave that excellent analysis of the boomer situation. There are many boomers who are lied to and who don't pay attention and who make bad choices, but there are also many wise boomers who really know what's going on. So when they put this business out about criticizing the boomers, I think it's a tactic. They don't want you to listen to the wise boomers. They want you to put them all in one bag and ignore them. And so it was really good for Ryan to point that out. And then, you made comments earlier and had discussions earlier, Suleiman, about language and the words that we choose to use. When it comes to the money situation, I think we should start talking about it correctly. Nobody's giving Iran anything when it comes to money as far as the sanctions. That was already Iran's money. We need to use the proper language. So U.S. isn't giving them anything except what's already theirs. And you don't get to give somebody what's already theirs when you took it away. So I think we need to have the right language on that situation. And, I wanted to make another recommendation for somebody that you might want to interview, and that's Patrick Henningsen. I'm pretty sure he's a U.S. commentator, and he's on X, and he's also on X at 21WIRE, capital WIRE.
I'm actually Patrick and I are doing a talk later this week. So
yeah,
Thanks, guys. I've just got a couple of minutes left before Suleiman goes live, and I just want to say hi to Dr. Adusa, she's got this thing now, this little gig going where she pops up right at the last minute before we go live to interview. So I have to rush to her. Go ahead, Dr. Adusa. Good to see you.
Hi, good seeing you, Beatrix and Suleiman and everybody else. Unfortunately, I have to still work. I'm not WEF. Is he here? Is Joe here? Maybe he can sponsor me. I still have to work.
Don't do it, Dr. Adusa. Don't get sponsored by them.
I know.
That's like selling your soul. Don't do it.
I'm strong. I will resist for sure. But I think there was a point a couple of months ago, I was between a semester breaks and I was able to join every day earlier, but the semester started a couple of months ago, so I've been actually a month and a half ago. So yeah, but I'm happy to be here, even if it's the last couple of minutes. About this memorandum of understanding, I want to invite everyone to be a bit skeptical. I have my own reasons to be, even though it's been signed by both parties, but I don't know. I feel like 180-degree sharp turn by everybody. Trump, JD Vance was a little bit kind of less involved, like at least in the background. Maybe he was working harder to get it signed. For sure, Israel is going to sabotage it by bombing and continuously bombing Lebanon and Gaza. And they may do something so severe that they drag Iran into it. I fear that maybe this is a strategy by the administration because of the midterms coming up, the price of oil, and they need this, a month and then the 2 months and then renewing it every 2 months to just release the economical pressure, the global pressure, bring the oil prices down to be able to win the midterms. And then after that, they may just, go back to it. So I'm skeptical, even though I like the memorandum of understanding and what's in it. I don't know. It just feels too good to be true, kind of a thing. And maybe Iran on their side, at their end, have reasons to sign it and just see what happens. And at the end of the day, either they get all these, stuff like removal of sanctions and assets, frozen assets released. They're probably thinking we take a chance and we'll see if they abide by it, and if not, okay, we'll go back to war, and but maybe we can also replenish our.
Dr. Tusa, just give me 30 seconds. I'm gonna and then you can continue. Guys, if you're on the second channel, I'm about to end it, come across to the moral resistance channel. But sorry, go ahead, Dr. Tusa.
Yeah, no problem. And maybe they're also replenishing their armaments, etc. At their end, and just taking advantage of the MOU and